Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to Midas Letter Live. My guest this segment is somebody you probably might or might not know if you've been in the mining space for a little while. Tom Obradovich is the president and CEO of Sable Resources, trades on the TSX Venture under the symbol SAE. Tom, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Tom, you knocked out a screamer of a hole. Come on, 514 grams per ton, silver equivalent over 12.4 meters, including 902 grams per ton, silver equivalent over 4.1 meters. Tell us about this project.
Well, the Margarita project is a low sulfidation epithermal target that we established by doing a regional study in some of the more favorable parts of Mexico, and this is in Chihuahua State. Our technical people, Ruben Padilla and Terry Harbert, identified the target. We managed to do a deal on it last year, and we got good surface numbers. These are the first drill holes that are into the Margarita vein, and we're quite pleased with it because it looks very similar to the mineralization that we see in the neighboring property that hosts about 200 million ounces of silver equivalent in a private company called Sunshine Silver and Refining. So it's the Los Gatos deposit, and we have the extension of it in our project.
And how much drilling are you doing in this first drilling program?
We're completing 12 holes for approximately 7,000 meters. We're going to be finished our 12th hole, wait for drill results and evaluate them in order to establish a second phase of drilling in the coming month or so.
So how many drill holes are at the lab now?
We have 5 remaining at the lab, 1 being drilled and 4 in the lab. It covers the entire property. We have a very small property that covers about 1.6 kilometers of strike length, but we have the mineralization through the entire property.
Oh, that's good. It always sort of annoys me when companies say, we got 50,000 hectares, but we've only got, 600 feet of strike.
We're in good shape. We're one end to the other.
Yeah, so strike length throughout the property.
Strike length throughout the property.
What is the composition of the silver equivalent?
I believe it varies on the depth of the drill hole. We get more base metal contribution to the values as we go deeper.
So silver, lead, zinc?
Silver, lead, zinc.
Okay.
And but primarily silver.
Okay.
Not a lot of zinc and lead, but there is enough to beef up our numbers and add to the silver values that we do have.
The zinc price lately has been, under pressure, despite the fact that global zinc inventories are depleting, quality of zinc deposits are going down. So in my view, the zinc is a good thing. I think
the zinc is always a good thing, especially in a market like this. But it seems that trade wars have really kicked the crap out of the base metal market. And once those are resolved, I don't think that's a long-term issue. I think Mr. Trump will get on some other bandwagon sooner or later and leave our base metals alone.
Right.
So I think we're going to see a recovery in base metal prices just strictly on the fundamentals.
Sure. And this isn't your only project.
No, we are
So you're not a one-trick pony.
No, we're a pure greenfields exploration company. We look for fresh new deposits, and our goal is to be the company that brings everybody back to the mining market after a major discovery. And we've seen it with Hemlo, it happened. We saw it with Diamond Fields, and we saw it with Aurelian, which I'm rather connected to. Everybody started getting back in mining stocks after there was a major discovery. We haven't had one in a number of years, but I think we're destined to be that company. And we'll come back in about 6 months to see if Don Julio in Argentina, which is in the El Indio belt, is as good as we think it is.
So that you call it, you mentioned that that's in the El Indio Pascualama belt.
Yes, sir.
Which proximity to Pascualama?
We're about 100 k's south of Pascualama, but only about 40 kilometers south of Alturas, which is the most recent discovery by Barrick, 6.5 million ounces.
Right. And are you all in Argentina? There's no part of the deposit going into Chile?
No. We kept everything where it's safe in San Juan province of Argentina, the best mining jurisdiction on the planet.
Yeah,
so,
no kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll have to get down there with a camera crew and shoot it.
Well, we'd love to.
Beautiful.
We'd love to have you after we have the discovery that ignites the market.
Well, because of that, we'll come down.
Exactly.
What's your treasury like right now, Tom?
We're sitting with about $2.5 million in cash.
Okay.
We've got avenues and offers of financing right now. We're coming up with creative ways to finance by possibly, I guess you're gonna. I can't tell you right now because we're gonna have to pull off the deal.
But you've never had trouble raising money.
Never.
Yeah,
no.
yeah. That's been one of your.
We went to raise $2.5 million last summer, and we raised 4.3. We've got offers.
And it's still in a tough market too.
In a tough market, but you know
a lot of guys with deep pockets.
Yeah, and we've had between Terry, Rubin, myself, and the people involved in this company, we've been involved in the discovery of over 60 million ounces. So it's those guys led the Anglo exploration team.
Yeah, you got quite a pedigree for sure.
Yeah, between Young-Davidson, Aurelian, and the deposits that were discovered for Anglo by our team in South America, we've found a lot of gold.
Yeah.
So it's
good.
some of the people that remember how much money they made off us are still writing checks.
Are you doing a lot of work in British Columbia?
We're doing a little bit of work in BC right now. We're drilling a project called Tulox in the next 6 months or so.
Yeah.
We're just finishing up some of the requirements by the government with respect to First Nations.
Yes.
But we will be drilling Tulox property in the near term.
Mm-hmm. So 4 holes at the lab, did you say?
Yeah.
And then you're going to drill a phase 2?
Phase 2 will be determined on the results of the next 4 holes, but they look the same, they smell the same, and they taste the same.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, are the cores look similar?
The cores look good. We've got a strike length of over 1.5 kilometers on the ground.
Yeah.
We've got a drilled strike length of 500 meters now. We've stepped out another 500 meters. We're down to 100 meters in depth. We got intersections at 50 and 100 meters, and
so these are right from surface.
This is an open pit.
Yeah, right. Okay.
If everything hangs together the way we think it does, it will be an open pit.
What's the elevation?
Elevation, I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
I haven't. All I know is it's on surface.
The surface of the planet.
Are there mines? There's mines in the area. Obviously.
Well, the Los Gatos deposit is being built right now by the Electrum Group. They own the majority of the stock in Sunshine Silver.
Just about every state in Mexico is friendly, isn't it? Like when
Argentina.
In we're talking about the Mexican project now at Margarita.
Okay.
But in Argentina, we're in the most favorable state.
Right.
In Mexico, we're in probably one of the most favorable states, being Chihuahua. So
Right.
San Juan in Argentina, Chihuahua in Mexico.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Huh. Awesome. Well, it sounds pretty exciting. We're going to leave it there for now, Tom. Thank you very much for the introduction. We're going to come back to you as soon as we see the next drill results and find out what happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
And thanks very much for coming in today.
Okay, thank you very much for having me.
Have Tom on the Raw show. We can have a little Skype
You bet.
action.
Absolutely. We're going to cut live now to our correspondent in California. Justin B. Marshall is joining us live with another visit of a major growing operation.
And now we're here with Jeff, Freya, and Mike at their Sea Quadrant facility here in the Salinas Valley location. It's quite an impressive size. Mike, what is the size of this operation?
Under roof here we have 43,000 square feet, and we have about 10,000 square feet of outbuildings, so about 53,000.
And 3 shipping bays, and quite the operation here. What are you going to be doing here in the future? What are your plans?
So this facility it's going to hold several licenses in the industry, in manufacturing, volatile manufacturing. For extraction, we have distribution license. We will have transportation license. We'll do a multitude of businesses from this roof, but primarily it's an extraction facility. Very industrial grade, yeah.
And this will be your umbrella corporation. So when investors are looking at a California ground floor operation, this is basically what it is, right here, what we're looking at. You guys are well established in the game, but yet you're really taking the bull by the horns and you're leading the future. So when you're extracting in this facility, what can you imagine your annual production rate be?
Well, I think it's important to talk about the capacity of the equipment that we're getting. If we're talking full capacity of the equipment, it has the ability to produce about $2.8 billion of revenue. Now, that's capacity, right? We can only operate as much as the biomass that we can get throughout the country. So we are looking at about probably we'll be running at about 20% of capacity. So, top line revenue looking between $300 to $500 million per year in the first year.
That's impressive. And you'll be extracting not only THC for THC products, but CBD as well?
Right, yeah. You know, it's kind of been serendipitous how through relationships from our first farm and the rollout of that we've kind of morphed into the best of both worlds, where we will be doing the THC market, but the CBD market, especially internationally, has become a big player. You know, all the laws are in place from, you know, the Ag Bill 2014 for industrial hemp, and then our current entitlements locally that allows us to operate well in both spaces. So it's only natural that we do both.
Well, Mike, this sounds like a vertically integrated opportunity for investors.
Yes.
And I'm really proud of you, what you're doing. I know that you have a strong background in marketing, and you've been traveling the country for many years. And now that you're leading the cannabis space in California, and with some of my very good friends here, I think that you're a dynamic team. And I know that you're going to be doing great things. Your last facility that you brought us to this morning was extremely impressive. I've never seen plants grow that well, and your master grower is clearly making a great tea and some beautiful strains. I know these are very popular in California and they're very highly sought after. So you're pretty much controlling the genetics, the market, the oil, the extraction, and you've been white labeling up until this point. Do you see yourself developing brands in the future?
Absolutely. That's kind of the natural end piece. There's two end pieces, is the brand building as well as retail. We will control retail as a corporation. We will have our own. The state's kind of been behind on how they've licensed and the pathway to licensing for retail. So it's one of those things in the supply chain where I think it's better to wait because there's no speculation. I don't like speculative things. I like real things.
That's correct.
So that's kind of what we're doing with both. The main goal of our business model in the supply chain is to be the best low-cost provider to everyone else. And then what does that transfer to? That transfers to the lowest cost brand building, right? That's and right. we can kind of bully our way into each market.
Wow. And how are you working with other operators in the county and with other operators in the state? I mean, clearly this is an opportunity for you to have first mover advantage, right, especially here in the Salinas Valley, which is poised to be the #1 cannabis producing county in California.
Right.
This is quite the opportunity. I'm very impressed with the size of your facility. And what's going on here now? What are you basically doing? You're getting ready for...
Yeah, so we closed on this facility about 90 days ago. We bought it, paid in full. And now we're retrofitting everything. We just got done putting the anti-static lighting in. We ground down all the flooring. We're putting antimicrobial covering. We got lucky with this building. This building was originally built as a food processing plant. So we got lucky with a lot of the infrastructure as far as stainless steel skirt drains, raised curbing around the edges. That's stuff that really is a pain to go back and try to do to an existing structure, right? Yeah. So we got lucky there. And then who I bought it from was a recycling, plastic recycling. So they super overbuilt the fire suppression and some things like that for hazmat, which helps us as well. We had a lot of existing infrastructure. So that's where we're at. We're kind of retrofitting it, getting it ready. We're going to start getting equipment deliveries at the end of September, so we can operate in this fourth quarter and take advantage of the outdoor hemp harvest as well as the THC harvest. So we've already sourced and have letters of intent to, you're going to love this, to complete all of our yearly revenue goals in the fourth quarter alone.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Wow. Good job. Good
Thank
job.
you.
Well, your background in marketing and in the business world, you started out in Florida and you made your way to California.
I did.
And I'm sure you learned a lot along the way. And that's going to play well into your future in the cannabis world. And it's such a dynamic team. Fred, you working heading up the legal department. And what you're doing over there in that growing facility, Jeff, I've never seen anything like it. And I can only imagine when your next facilities are in full swing, what kind of plants you'll be growing. And if you can keep that price below $1 a gram, that's very impressive. And if you could keep it organic, that's extremely sought after.
That's the easy part. The teas are cheap. And I mean, everybody wants to go to the hydro store and get a 3-part mix because anybody can grow it. It's basically, it goes off a feeding chart. It's having the right growers that can make the teas and mix it at a quarter of the cost.
Yeah.
And at the end of the month, that quarter cost is a lot of savings, which brings your price per pound down.
That's the business model.
The new facility being state of the art and set up for cannabis will help a lot. And having Sea Quadrant down the street for all of our byproduct, I mean, even if we had a bad harvest and got mold, we could still bring it down here and have them process it because they could separate everything out. I mean, it's just, it's great having this going in this area.
It's all about building the enterprise for efficiency, right? There's no waste.
That's right.
You got to build capacity. If you build, there's always some capacity, but if you build a large capacity, then what you lose is there's no opportunity cost, right? It's like in the manufacturing world. If you can only do 1,000 pounds a day of extraction for biomass, it better be the perfect 1,000 pounds, right?
That's correct.
If I can process 100,000 pounds a day, there is no opportunity cost for my equipment, right? I can just keep filling the machine and creating revenue.
Let me ask you this, Mike. Are you planning on doing ethanol extraction and...
No, this is volatile. We are licensed for volatile manufacturing.
Okay.
We've spent a lot of money and time with engineering to get the perfect solvent, and it looks like we're going to go with a butyl acetate, which it's a volatile process, but it has a lot of the same. It's basically a volatile process without the EPA issues and the California ARB board that we can put to work without, you know, a bunch of emissions problems.
Brilliant,
yeah.
Brilliant. Wow, you think of everything. That's great. That's great. Would you mind showing us around your facility here
Absolutely,
a little bit?
Yeah, let's take a walk.
Yeah.
So this obviously lends itself well to being a shipping dock, packaging, shipping, staging for pickup. But I want to walk through here. This will be the main manufacturing floor. Believe it or not, this room will, about 80% of this room will be filled with extraction equipment. That's how large it is. It's a very big machine. It's very, very high tech. We spent a lot of money getting it right, and we're excited about when it starts arriving in the next couple of days.
When it's finished, it will possibly be the largest in the state, if not the country. From my research, I haven't seen any bigger.
Wow, congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah. And as brands are built in the future, I'm sure you'll be helping these other companies that are starting out with their supply. You'll be able to supply other companies, and you'll be able to supply...
Well, there's a couple revenue streams that we'll realize here. Number one being, yes, we'll help brands by being the wholesale provider to them, right? That don't want to go grow or don't want to manufacture. They're good at marketing. So great, we got your product to buy.
Nice.
Another big revenue stream that we'll have is all of my neighbors here. They don't want to go spend $10 million to get a good extraction equipment. So I'll do toll processing, white label services, and then they can figure out their own distribution. And then as well as us buying our own biomass, creating our own products, and you know, capturing some of the brand market share for ourselves.
Wow. So, this is very interesting because our friends in Canada at Aurora are doing something very similar, where Micron Waste, Hempco, and Aurora Sky facility, I believe, are all in a tight little unit where they're able to work together and build a small area that everyone can work well together.
Right.
And I believe that's what you're doing too. One other thing I wanted to mention that I thought was very interesting is I believe you mentioned earlier that you've considered using your waste material, such as the stalks and stuff like that would normally be thrown away. You can use that now as a product to help fire departments clean up their mess.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of uses that we've been developing. You know, we have a good team of scientists that work for us, or with us. So they're actually using some of the waste, because it is a big problem. You know, if we start doing 50,000 pounds a day of extraction, you're left with 50,000 pounds of trash, essentially, at the end, right?
Right.
So we've tested things such as that spill cleanup, where you kiln dry it, get it ready, and think of a diesel spill or something like that, right? It's like spill cleanup. Our scientists have been looking at turning the hemp fibers into polymers and stuff of that nature. And actually, one of our current investors is tied into a Canadian company, actually, that has some intellectual property for generators. So they actually have generators that turn biomass into electricity.
Interesting.
So that's another angle that we're looking at strongly, just because of the sheer volume of what we'll be going through. Okay. So from start to finish, we can get through the process. It's unbelievable. It's too, I priced this thing out with what I thought was state-of-the-art equipment, we had each shift had 45 people here, right, to handle the volume we were going to do. After we got through our consultant and our engineering group, we need 4 people. Like, it's crazy.
Wow. So the automation is just incredible.
The automation in this machinery is incredible.
Amazing. And then you're able to take that waste product and turn it into something you could sell.
Something else, yes.
I have a friend in Canada. He was my father's mentor, the inventor of the Presto log. And he was able to take sawdust and turn it into something sellable. And I'm always been impressed with people that can do this. And let me ask you, how big is, I know your facility is a huge facility. How big is your property? Can you build onto this?
I can.
Great.
This property's 5 acres, which allows us to get, it actually helped us with a lot of licensing because it was a minimum property size needed.
Right. I'm very impressed how you've been able to raise all your funds yourself. Yeah. That's impressive, and without outside investors' help. But as you go forward, would you be looking for investors, and as you shareholders are looking for profitable companies in the future?
Absolutely.
Great. So tell me about your company. Tell me about your vision of the future.
Yeah. So for Sea Quadrant, Sea Quadrant LLC will end up being the company. That'll be the holdings company that holds all of our subsidiaries. And what we've so the way I raised my money is I had a call center for an unrelated business 2 years ago, right? And I flipped that staff. It's a great staff we had there. And through that call center is how we raised a lot of our own funds to get into the first cultivation site and now coming into the manufacturing site. But now we're at a point where that call center, I changed half of it to actually start looking and reaching out for biomass. We started buying records for people that have applied applications throughout the state for THC. And through that process is how we got so heavily involved in CBD. So just off a whim, we started looking internationally, because you can internationally import industrial hemp as long as it follows our set of ag rules, right? And it's a compliant product. So what we've actually gotten into now is a partnership with Macedonia. We're going out there in August to kind of roll out and spearhead I think they're going to start with 1,000 acres, see how it goes, and who knows how far we'll go. I'm also traveling to South America, to 2 places in South America, Colombia and Panama, and we're going there with the intent of getting federal licensing.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And all of that will fall under Sea Quadrant. And the idea is to build that international portfolio of products, right?
Right.
Products and businesses for an initial public offering eventually.
Wow, no wonder they call you Magic Mike. You're working a lot of magic around here. Well, this is quite an impressive operation, and we're really looking forward to seeing how this plays out for you in the future. We know you're doing big things, and it's just thanks for being on our show.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Jeff.
you so much. Jeff.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you very much. See you guys next time.
So much for your time. Eddie, what do you think? Do you hear what he's saying there? They're going to be profitable. $150 million. California. Do you believe that? There's not a stick of furniture in there, but he says it's going to be like profitable by, Q1 next year.
Sure. Well,
I mean, it's
he's buying into his vision.
No, I know, but I think we're going to go down there and take those guys public if they'll have us. What do you think?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes,
You're
yes.
in?
Yeah.
You're in?
You're in the room, you're in the deal.
You're in the room, you're in the deal.
Are we on the show now?
Yeah, we're on the show. Has the show started? Hey, is this thing on? How are you doing today, everybody? It's great to see you. We're back here, Midas Letter Live. Had a fantastic long weekend. Thank you for asking. Rebuilt my deck. Broke my leg doing so. Not quite, but scraped it up bad. You can't really see, but there it is. That's my wound from the weekend.
Oh, wow. That's a doozy.
Yeah, not bad. I fell through the old deck.
Really?
That's when I knew it was time to build a new deck. Because the old deck was so rotten.
You should have built a new deck before you fell.
Well, that's actually, I wasn't the first one to fall through. I just fell through during the process of removing the old deck because,
right.
I figured hey, I'm going to go through the deck. Time to go through the deck. You were on the new deck last night. Didn't we have drinks last night? Oh, consume a little bit of wine, a little bit of cannabinoids. Woohoo! Boy, you were on fire last night.
I was flying.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm still. I feel like I just landed.
It was hot last night.
Yeah, and then listen, I got to tell you, there's somebody over there who knows how to cook. Oh, that's at your place.
Hey. Well, actually,
those potatoes were especially exquisite.
They like the potatoes, do you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I know how to make a potato, don't I?
Now we had quite an evening.
Yes.
And it wasn't about the quantity of people; it was about the quality of people.
That's true. There's only 4 of us. God knows we hate competition when it comes to talking, don't we? Anyways, we have Nick. Oh, he says, don't butcher my last name. Nick, I don't know how to say your last name.
Spell it. See if I can say it.
Haghighi. Haghighi. Haghighi?
It probably isn't pronounced like a G. It's probably
Nick, if you're watching,
a G.
I'm sure you are. Can we get a pronunciation key on your thing? You know, the accents and the syllables. Welcome to the show, Nick. Freedom Unleashed. You're late. You're late, man. What? No wonder the show hasn't got any traction yet. Sarah Bai. I hope you guys enjoyed the holiday. That was SAECO. Yes, somebody's paying attention. Sarah Bai. Captor Capital resumes tomorrow. MedMen. MedMen. Sarah Bai is promoting MedMen. We got 26 people watching right now, Ed. Live. It's Saturday night. How was your weekend?
Yeah. It was fun. I played 3 rounds of golf.
3 rounds?
3 rounds, yeah.
So you must have been completely smashed by the time that was wrapped up. No.
Wow.
You look like you got some sun.
Yeah, I got a little bit of sun. It was quite hot out there.
Okay.
It had some big storms rolling through southwestern Ontario yesterday.
Yeah.
As you probably noticed.
Yeah, we had a bit of a storm. You know, first thing I did when I finished, I wasn't even quite finished the deck, but suddenly it starts pouring rain. I got to drop tools, cover up the saw. So was
that a miter saw?
No, it's a compound miter saw and a radial arm.
Do you know what a miter saw is?
Yeah, it's a miter saw.
Does that cut corners?
Cut corners. Anyways, back to my story.
All right, sorry.
So I found that vape pen that I brought from Jetty Extracts down in the States, and I had a huge haul off of it. No, I brought it in legally. A huge haul off of it, and I got so gooned that I brought out my 2 speakers. I put them on the table in front of me, and I cranked up. First, I listened to Pink Floyd Animals. Then I listened to Zeppelin 3.
Really?
And I killed like almost 2 hours that way. But it was perfect. The rain was pouring down. Thunder, lightning, Zeppelin 3, Pink Floyd Animals. It was like epiphanous.
Epiphanous.
It was epiphanous.
Epiphanous.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's interesting that you're talking about, electricity and water, like the electricity from your speakers, water in the storm. Some gentleman, they found dead in his bathroom. Apparently, he might have electrocuted himself with his electric razor. I don't mean to smile because it's not funny, but
hilarious.
But I'm just saying, be careful when it's raining out there in that storm, and you're.
No, believe me, this is a construction site, so we've got
so you had your helmet on. You had your helmet on.
I was wearing my helmet, my big rubber gloves, and
your goggles. Your goggles?
No, I didn't have goggles because remember the tools were covered.
For instance, what if you were chipping away at some rock or something, and a piece of it got lodged in your eye? I think goggles
there's no rock to chip at in my garden. It was strictly a wood job. It was a re. Tear apart the old cedar deck.
Re? What does that mean?
Remove and replace.
Remove and Oh, is that what re stands for?
Remove and replace. Standard.
There's also a re in the insurance business too, right?
Reinsurance. That's where you insure the bad bets of the insurer.
Jesus.
Against catastrophe. I know. The more I get immersed in the global financial system, the more I realize that it is not a metaphor to call it a giant freaking casino. It's just a giant casino is all it is. The only difference between the global financial system and Las Vegas is at least in Vegas you get a free drink. Now I'm sure some banks probably would offer you a free drink if you open an account there, especially during the heyday of the mortgage fraud that the U.S. was perpetrating on the world.
Yeah, you know, my buddy he checked into a hotel in Glasgow,
Yeah.
and it was in the morning,
Yeah.
and they asked him, he had a long trip in, and they said, would you like a whiskey?
Yeah.
Right at the, check-in place.
Huh.
They're serving whiskey at the check-in place at Glasgow.
You know, that doesn't not make sense.
You know, hey, take a load off, sir.
Yeah.
Welcome to our establishment.
Welcome to our country. Have a shot of scotch. Nothing wrong with that. I'd just stick around the entrance gate. I'd just stay there. How many more of these?
What's a Scotch broth? A Scotch broth.
Scotch broth, isn't that with barley and beef?
I don't know. I think
you're only supposed to ask questions to which we already know the answers.
Okay, sorry.
Hey, did you watch the Sullivan iron trade today?
Big action. Flew to 58 cents. Flew.
57 it touched today.
58.
58.
Well, that's why I said 58.
Are you still holding it?
I think I'm holding the bag. I got left holding the bag. No,
Really?
I never moved in. I never moved in.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
I'm still holding. I didn't sell a single share, though. I wish I'd lightened up.
Would you?
I wish I would have dumped the whole position at 58 and bought it back at
Well, what if
40?
you dumped it at 54? Would you be buying it back at 44? 10 cents?
Definitely.
250,000 shares?
Probably.
Quick 25?
Maybe.
After $20 commission?
Definitely. Absolutely. Who would? What kind of fool would that be?
Yeah. These things don't end usually right away like this. This is my professional recommendation on this one would be that over the next few days, it's probably going to bottom.
Yeah.
And then you're going to see it not drop anymore. As soon as that happens, that would be a good entry point because these things usually, like 9 out of 10 times, at least test the previous high, which would be 58. So if you bought it around 42 and you could sell it at 55,
I'm gonna predict that it's going to drop as low as 38 cents again, and then it's going to consolidate and make a run through the previous high, which is 58.
Okay.
And I think that's going to happen over the next few sessions.
I think a nice crystal ball on the set here would be a good idea because when you say I'm going to make it, you can put the ball and you take a look and you just sort of...
Yeah, the crystal ball thing, that's risky.
You feel like it maybe suggests there's a little leisure domain going on here?
Well, I think the problem...
Leisure domain, you like that?
Leisure domain?
Yeah, leisure domain.
Leisure domain?
That means a swift of hand. Like
swift of hand.
Leisure is leger, like...
Light. Leger.
Quickly. And domain of hand.
Domain. The hell of the man. Is that what you're trying to say?
Leisure domain, like sleight of hand. No. I think if you look up leisure domain, that's what it says, sleight of hand.
Huh.
Let's take a look.
Let's ask the audience. Any French speakers?
Or prestidigitation is another one of those. Prestidigitation.
Whoa. What's with all these new words here
Well, you know what I thought,
Prestidigitation.
Prestidigitation.
Sounds like you're... I mean, have you been drinking scotch
Have I been on vacation?
What did you say?
Prestidigitation.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, there's all these words out there, you know.
Yeah. So,
okay.
you know who's here today?
Tom Obradovich.
Yeah, he was here. He left. We already heard from him.
Okay.
You know who's here?
Who?
Louis Kyron. He's the publisher and editor of CannaInvestor magazine. And here's that conversation. Hey, welcome back to Midas Letter Live. My guest in this segment is Louis Kyron. He is the editor-in-chief of CannaInvestor magazine, which you can find online at CannaInvestorMag.ca. Louis, thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, James. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so Louis, there's some issues with the whole idea of an entire federal medical regime that you seem to believe represent some level of risk to patients and, or I guess by extension, investors. Can you give me a bit of an explanation of what you're sort of fishing for there?
Certainly, James. There's a whole bunch of obviously smaller challenges that we read about, whether it's taxes being on medical cannabis, lack of benefits coverage, the black market threat, availability, and we can go on and on. I would say recently the Canadian Medical Association has come out and declared, it's on their website as well, that they expect the existing medical use framework to be dismantled, phased out, once legalization starts on October 17th. I just don't see, from a patient point of view, how patients are expected to transition from their medical team and licensed producers to get specific strains, especially high CBD, for example, to a dispensary network, relying on retailers, if you will, for that same information. From an investor perspective, of course, is we've all been led to believe that the markup, the margins will be more on the medical side, and there's a bit more branding there as well, naming strains and so forth. And what would happen to those strains and all of that if it's strictly recreational. So I see a number of concerns, and those patients as well, you got to think of the greater good. The investor side, I think, is collateral, if you will. The greater good, of course, is a lot of people have migrated from pharmaceuticals over to cannabis, and for a lot of them, they found it superior, better, less symptoms.
Less addictive.
Less addictive, of course, especially the whole opioid treatment side of it too, right? And now they may be expected to migrate back to those pharmaceuticals. So overall, I just see a lot of questions the CMA, I think, needs to answer.
Sure. Has the CMA issued any kind of language in support of cannabis as an alternative treatment to opiates, for example, or are they more or less still of the let's wait for the research to bear this out?
Yeah, everything I have found states just that. There's not enough clinical studies, not enough research. And we've had this framework in place since 2001, and since that time there's been a growing body of research, not just in Canada, but worldwide. And we're seeing, with the endogenous cannabinoid system, or the endocannabinoid system, we're seeing more and more that it modulates inflammation in the body. And we're seeing how CBD and THCA and stuff also contribute to anti-inflammation. At the same time, we're seeing more evidence that chronic inflammation is an underlying thread to so many medical conditions. It just seems strange to me that when the biggest risk of migrating to medical cannabis or trying it is it probably does little for you. That's the biggest risk. And then you can then migrate back to the more traditional treatments.
Sure. So, I mean, from personal experience and observation, I was actually in attendance at a City of Toronto Council meeting where Council was planning to debate the issuance of licenses to dispensaries. And the one councillor moved to dismiss, which was carried because they felt there was no right of the city to debate this measure while it was still federally illegal, which at the time it was. There was an entire gallery of patients in attendance who were protesting the difficulty financially and sort of procedurally to accessing cannabis through the existing medical system back then. So I hear what you're saying, and especially, I mean, I know from firsthand experience in contact with these people that they're not going to, re-enter a complicated and complex and overcrowded medical system just to try to get cannabis when they're going to be able to get it off the street. So do you think that, it's kind of like everybody's of the expectation to some degree that the black market will survive for a while in the recreational sort of sense, but in the medical sense, everybody's just sort of saying, oh, that's a done deal. We're all good there. There's no competition from these people, but there is. And I think from an investor perspective, that's certainly going to be a risk to the balance sheets of companies post-2019. And so I'm curious as to your thoughts on, so is the Canadian Medical Association planning to basically force this issue, and do they have the support of Health Canada?
I do not know the answer to the latter. I've actually reached out to the CMA to discuss an interview, and I haven't heard back yet. But what we do know, of course, is, as you were saying, the challenges back then with medical cannabis and affordability. More benefits companies have announced that they're going to start covering it, or will be soon. On your medical taxes, it is a medical expense. And even people who do have benefits, the health spending account portion will typically cover medical cannabis, so there are some offsets. And of course, the irony is, you're right, if people can't find that medical strain that they prefer from the LP or through a dispensary now, they might go to the black market where they're not really certain what they're getting.
Right.
And on the other side, we see advocates stating how taxing it is wrong. And the irony is, of course, as you mentioned, the black market over an extended period of time for a period. And that may just be a function of chicken and the egg, because once you tax cannabis, HST, excise tax, and so forth, you're raising the price, which makes the black market more competitive. And you're raising the price, of course, they say, so it's cost recovery and for enforcement. So it's almost a vicious circle, if you will. By keeping the price high, they're perpetuating the very black market that they're trying to enforce and shut down.
Right. And the only argument against the black market that really carries water with somebody who's not necessarily concerned with the rule of law when it comes to obtaining cannabis is this issue of pesticide and pathogen contamination. Now, I am going to bet you dollars to donuts that there are elements in the black market who will easily be able to meet those pesticide and pathogen testing sort of standards. And then what's the argument going to be? So it's all very interesting. But so that's some of the risks. But you also have some stuff you're really excited about, like you mentioned, beverages.
Oh, absolutely. About just over 2 years ago, I think we were one of the first, and I'll put an asterisk by that, to really start talking about the potential of beverages, especially alcohol substitutes. People are already used to having a social drink. We have an aging population, and we know seniors are moving more and more towards medical cannabis. Often they're in retirement homes or long-term care where they cannot smoke, they can't vape, they can't even cook. So that might dissuade people from cooking with cannabis and the whole decarb process. But a beverage, you're familiar with it. It's natural. There's something nourishing about drinking. There's something unnatural about smoking, inhaling. There's something unnatural about it. There is a natural repulsion to the species.
I didn't find that.
There's always.
I find the opposite. There's an intoxication, an attraction. But yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. That a lot of people have this natural aversion to smoking, and rightly so.
And there's a social stigma towards it too. And plus just the smell and offending neighbors, especially in close proximity.
Sure.
I think this is something natural with beverages. It's already a social thing. You go for a few drinks at night, and we're already used to it. It's already built into us.
Yeah, that's a good point. So then now, in terms of the beverage universe, for example, we saw the deal with Hexo and Molson Coors last week.
Absolutely.
We've got Province Brands out there who's building, a cannabis brewery
and they're with
on the East
Uxley,
Coast. Yeah, right, with Uxley. And so where are the big opportunities specifically? Which companies do you think are going to really sort of have captured the opportunity?
Well, I hate promoting any company, but there's no. Just want to say, if I do mention a company, it's just conversation, right? I mean, you have the deal with Hill Street Brewery, and they have a deal with Lexaria Biosciences. And Lexaria's technology, of course, masks the flavor, and it improves acceleration and the actual bioavailability absorption. So if that pans out, it would probably most mimic or mirror drinking. Where you have a drink and you feel it a few minutes later, not 2 hours later.
Right.
Tinley Beverage, another one. They're in California. They have a number of THC-infused replicas of traditional spirits, margaritas, rums, and so forth. Of course, Favita, they have that deal with WeedMD, and Favita is supposed to be having their launch of their hemp products shortly, I believe. And of course, you have companies like Carolus, Xyanth XX, even Harvest One, for example, the whole Dream Water. They're expecting to have a beverage line. Green Organic Dutchman's another one, right? It's just endless. Of course, you want to say, Molson with Hexo. Well, already you have brand familiarity, brand loyalty. You have Canadian-wide distribution network in theory. Molson can move products pretty quickly, as can Hexo. And you can't discount, Aurora, there's rumors about Aurora and Steam Whistle Brewery right here. That was in the news 2 Fridays ago, I believe. It's going to be huge, it's going to be big, and that's where the margins are, I think. Because much like a can of pop or your favorite beer, there's 4 ingredients that probably cost pennies.
Right.
But you're paying, now a buck of beer, but you're paying, anywhere from $1 to $3, $4 for a beer, whereas the ingredients inside are pennies.
Right.
And I think that will transfer over to the investor, and that's where the money will be in that finished product.
All right, Louis. Well, that's a great introduction. It's the first time we've had you here, but I can say we're going to have you back lots. So
look forward to it.
We'll leave that there for now and come back to you in a couple of weeks' time. Thanks for joining me today.
Perfect. So much, James. Take care.
So
We're back. Special Ed is here.
I just got to tell you one thing here, because I'm seeing this thing about a buck of beer, buck of beer, buck of beer. I thought maybe they were talking about, you know, they're going to have a corn roast or something, and it's like a buccaneer. But no, it's a buck of beer. So anyway, you know what the previous minimum was prior to announcing this buck? It can make it sound
$1.50.
Buck and a quarter.
Buck and a quarter.
So they're knocking off a quarter. I guess that's something, but
You know, it strikes me.
When was the last time you got a beer for a buck and a quarter?
Ed, I have one thing to say to that. Who cares? If we're going to run this province based on who provides the cheapest beer, you know what we're going to have? A bunch of drunks running the country, which we kind of already do in the case of Doug Ford. You know, no stranger to the old...
Really? Really? Well, I don't know. I think he's, you know,
Anyways, nobody knows Doug Ford. Nobody cares about Doug Ford. He's a provincial guy. What's he going to do? He can fuck with the hydro, that's it. Who cares? What's he going to do? Make it cheaper? What's he going to do? Buy back the 15% that we sold?
Well, maybe what we should do is, if we want to get things cheaper, we should just cut everybody's salary by 15, 20%. I don't think that's going to go over well. Do you?
Well, I liked his first inclination was to cut the councillors in half.
Yeah, that would have been a good one.
Of course, the only thing is, though, he should not be allowed to pick which ones.
Did you see, hey, speaking of politics in the bigger arena, did you see what happened in what's that place there in South America?
Venezuela?
Venezuela.
Yes.
Did you see where the president was giving a speech and a couple of drones came
flying in and
I wonder if those were the drones from our friends here. No, they wouldn't be, would they?
Which drones? Oh, you mean Drone Delivery Canada?
Yeah.
No, they don't build military drones. They only build delivery
and
drones.
then stock them with plastic explosives.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, Drone Delivery Canada.
Scary, though.
Speaking of stocks that have done well, Drone Delivery Canada.
Right up there.
Yeah, FLT is the symbol.
Yeah.
Could have bought it 20 cents.
Come on.
40
and
cents.
sold all you wanted. Bought it all you wanted. Sold all you wanted.
Long.
Yeah, that's been a real good one. There's no question. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, you know, later this week we're going to have a cannabis company in here that's merging with a private down in Niagara called, and the company's called Heritage Cannabis. Mind you, this thing is a baffed out spent piece of jet trash whore shell. It's got like 160 million shares outstanding after this transaction, so
yeah,
don't know where that's going to do for the company.
Yeah. Look at. I want to make another point here about the. For instance, we saw weed today having a fairly nice day. Weed.
You know, we haven't even talked about the charts here yet, eh?
But let's do that right now, because I want to make a point, because something's going on here that I find.
Whoa! Look what just popped up here, without any effort from myself.
What's that?
Da 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 da! Patriot One Technologies up 7 cents on the day.
We talked about that.
1.3 million shares traded. Remember, we told the audience last week this stock was going to rock this week, and did it? Yes, it did. Did I buy any like I said it was going to?
No,
I didn't. Because I woke up, and as soon as I finished choked down my Cheerios, the thing was already up 10 cents.
Don't
and you
say
know what? I don't chase stocks.
You woke up, got out of bed, dragged a comb across your head.
I don't know if you've seen my hair, Ed, but this hair never sees a comb.
You've never seen a comb, no.
No.
Maybe a brush.
No, I do have a brush.
Brush cut?
I haven't had a brush cut. I used to have a punk rock hair.
I want to compare weed today, Canopy,
okay,
and I want to compare it to ACB, because there's something going on there. Two of the biggest.
Well, I'm going to show you something here, and yeah, okay. So what did you want to look at?
Well, look at ACB. They're both in the space. They both have the biggest market caps that I. Am I right about that?
Well, I don't think that ACB. Oh yeah, it's still number 2.
Yeah.
It's today's market cap. Oh, it's down to 609.
Well, there you go. Now, so here,
still $5.7 billion market cap.
Why is ACB backing off? And this is a rhetorical question. I don't really want anybody to call me up and give me a reason. If you can.
Why is weed rocking? And
yeah, weed's going up. So, and yet these are the two biggest.
Yeah, but
you'd think they'd be looked upon pari passu.
There's one. No, that would be a mistake.
Or pari sound, I mean.
That would be a mistake. First of all, weed only has 220 million shares out. Aurora has close to a billion now that it has acquired MedRelief. So what you're seeing in MedRelief is an abdication of faith on the part of former MedRelief shareholders, of which there are 370 million some odd.
You think that's what's causing this,
There's
right?
no doubt.
Okay.
No doubt.
No doubt?
No doubt.
Wasn't there a name of a band, No Doubt?
There was. There is.
And there was a lady singer there?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember her name.
Gwen Stefani?
Gwen Stefani.
No, I just took a wild guess.
How did you know? Come on, a wild guess.
No, you know what?
See,
you know what happened? You know what happened?
You're pretty hip.
You know what happened? I'll just tell you. Our boy over there whispered it. He turned around and he sort of gave me a nudge and he said, Gwen Stefani.
What boy over where?
Go right here.
Oh!
Mr. Head.
Mr. Special Head.
Mr. Special Head.
Mr. Special Head Plato.
I think we all agree there's Special Head.
Plato, you want a glass of water?
Oh, get that shit out of my way.
Hey, give me some hard stuff.
Give me goddamn vodka.
Well, what are you thinking?
What am I thinking?
No, I'm talking to Mr. Head.
I'm thinking, I need a goddamn shot of vodka before I start swinging.
Okay, here you go. Here, I'll just pretend this is vodka. Here, let me just pour it.
Ah, that's a spit. Now give me a goddamn smoke.
You want smoke?
Oh, yeah.
How about a little pull on a vape?
Oh, yeah, now you're talking.
How about just a little pull?
Now you're talking there, big fella.
You can't grab
right.
the glass yourself. Okay.
Let's.
I still think it. You know, it's interesting. I guess.
What's that?
Maybe some of the sellers of ACB are putting their money into weed. What do you think?
That's entirely possible, but highly doubtful.
I think if we see a 5 handle on ACB, it's got to make a lot of the big shareholders of ACB get a little nervous.
Why do you say that?
Well, psychologically, you know. You see that number broken? What do you think?
What do I think? What? Can you tell I drank a little bit of wine last night? Anyways,
are we
Two
trying
Good
to
Dogs is here. Léger de main. Light of hand. Léger de main.
Sleight of hand.
Léger de main. Light of hand. Slight. See, this is the point I was going to make. Sleight of hand means that your hands are moving so quickly that it's sleight of hand. You don't see what happens. Light of hand means something completely different.
Okay.
That's where it's like I go, Ed, look over there, and I lift your wallet out of your pocket. That's light of hand. That's what I think. Marc-Antoine Dubé says, great interview right there. Thank you. See, somebody's appreciating us out there. Big hello to, Freedom Unleashed is asking us about Chris Bogart again. No, we haven't heard from Chris. Chris is keeping his head down.
So here are some of the synonyms of leisure de main.
Okay.
First one, sleight of hand.
Yeah.
That's where I'm getting it from.
I know.
You know.
The internet is not always right, though.
Conjuring, magic, wizardry. I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. So, Ed, what about the other marijuana stocks? Like, what the hell is going on here? Like, Patriot One's rocking. The sick has gotten sick and has fallen out of bed on us. I'm going to buy more as soon as it's a little bit closer to the end of the market.
Right.
All the big caps are down today except for Organogram's up 11 cents to 5.19, up 2.17%.
Well, but Canopy's up.
Look at MedMen. Look at that.
I know.
Just get nailed.
Yeah. Drifting.
Well, let's see. I guess that is a bit of a drift. It's a sick drift.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you something right now, right here. If you draw these lines, you could have draw. There we go. Draw a line there. That got breached. You could draw a line here. That got breached.
Yeah.
Now, this is the number here. If it breaks below that, I think you're going to see some guys that short the market.
Ed, I have got news for you. That low is 343, and this stock is 386.
Yeah.
So
you wouldn't want to see that 343 get breached.
No.
That's
no.
How do we know that's the low?
On that day?
Yeah.
Because I put my little
low 343.
Yeah.
But look where it closed that day, 385. Yeah, nice, creating a tail. Nice tail.
Yeah.
And we should put up the SIC chart.
SIC?
You know, let's change the subject.
I don't know how many people are into Socom and Iron.
What did it trade? 20 million shares today?
It was 18 million a second ago.
Well, I'm sure. Look at this.
19 million.
Oh, okay, there you go. I bet
42 cents.
Okay, here's what I don't like about this chart.
It's got a big wick on it.
Big wick. This big wick is not what I would say. It's a reversal day, unfortunately. But you know what? Look.
Still up 3 cents.
Look at lots of green, but then we got. Yeah. Well, you know what? We're going to get the late longs in this early run up they're gonna have their nerve tested.
It's just really.
But I really believe that this is the beginning of probably a major discovery. So at some point, and it may be tomorrow morning, if this thing gets hammered, it might be time to step in. But again, it could hammer. It's well, you might say it's been hammered already, but
traded as high as 58 cents.
I know, and you know what? And everybody thought it was going to keep going, but they never do.
Well, people take money off the table. I mean, if you bought it 4 days ago, you bought in at 20 cents, and you've just doubled your money.
It'd be nice to talk to somebody that had a sort of a relationship with some of the people that are
in the deal.
In the deal.
I actually have deployed my agents of inquiry, and in fact, I will be getting a report from Newfoundland this evening.
Did you make a call to your special agent man?
I did. My man on the inside.
What was that song? Secret
Agent Man. Secret Agent Man. Who did that song?
Somebody Winter, I think.
Johnny Winters?
No, it wasn't Johnny Winter. It was Johnny.
Hold on, we're going to look this up. Secret Agent Man. Can we get it up on the screen, please? Secret Agent Man. Who did it? Secret Agent Man. Johnny Rivers?
That's it, Johnny Rivers.
All right.
He also did that one where, No, I don't know. You're supposed to say, no, I don't know, Ed.
Know.
What?
Secret prices are great offers.
Uh-oh, we got to go through this darn thing right here.
You can get up to...
Star who started the whole thing, Mr. Johnny Rivers.
There it is.
There it is.
Secret Agent Man.
I think that was done like
1966.
Last year. I think they decided to do the James Bond thing after this. Look at this guy. Look at the hair on him.
Secret Agent Man.
He's not saying Asian man, is he?
Anyways, Ed, you know who I had in here today? The guys from Follow the Money Investor Group. You know who they are? Brandon Colwell and Kirk Boyd.
Yes.
And I had a conversation with them, and we're going to cut to that right now. Hey, welcome back to Midas Letter Live. My guest in this segment is Brandon Colwell and Karl Boyd.
It's a hard one.
I know. Who are the co-founders of Follow the Money Investor Group, which you can find online at FTMIG.com or Facebook/Follow the Money Investor Group, all written out just like that. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me.
You did that without even looking too. That was fantastic.
I finally memorized it because I said it 50 times before we started.
Yeah.
So, Follow the Money Investor Group. Tell me, how did it get started? How many members do you have? What's the whole story?
Well, the starter right here and co-founder.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what? My partner and I, we were in another group, just speculating in the cannabis stocks about 2-3 years ago, and we really enjoyed that group. But there was a lot of conversations that weren't being. Wasn't very constructive.
Pumperdoodles?
Well, yeah.
A lot of them.
That.
A lot of pumperdoodle.
Yeah.
You know what?
I hate that.
I think it's more so just it's okay for people to not agree, but
right.
it's how you're going to go about your conversation and being constructive, right?
Right. Yeah.
So instead of fighting and arguing with people, which we were doing, we wanted to just let's do our own thing. start our own Facebook group, and we'll let people talk, but we'll just moderate it and, a little bit. And if people are just going to be insulting others, we're not going to have that, right? So that's sort of how it started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's just grown ever since. I mean, I came in around November or so, and I remember Carl telling me, like, who on earth is this guy who just keeps talking? And I was a huge cannabis, still am a huge cannabis advocate, because I've been cannabis since Bedrocan. So I had Canopy at $1.60,
wow.
and I never looked back.
Wow.
And
so you're one of those 2,600% winners.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. I actually sold that and went into Aurora at $2.
Wow.
So and kept going. I had a few bad ones. Bragging, but then comes January, and there was a few not so smart decisions there, but it's just nice to see the progression that the group has made over the last 6 to 8 months, where it was just focused on just a couple of stocks, just people coming together, wanting to talk about a company together without everyone bashing and screaming from side to side. So now we cover well over 50 different companies in cannabis, in blockchain, energy, and mining. Really, where if someone's talking about it in our group, we start looking into it, and we start growing from that. So it's been a really interesting journey over the last little while.
Okay, so people are coming and joining this group to find investment ideas, to discuss investments they're in, where they find a common community without any pumping or bashing.
In a constructive way, yeah.
Right. Okay, interesting. So you're in cannabis, cryptocurrencies or blockchain, and mining.
And mining.
How Canadian.
Yeah, and the mining is actually relatively new for myself personally. I was always cannabis. But then I started branching over just a few months ago with Carl and a bunch of others. We have some people who have been on oil rigs and been mining themselves for years. It's an interesting sector. And I think you can attest that right now is a pretty interesting time for it, because it's drilling season, especially for Canada.
Everybody should go look at charts.
Yeah,
definitely.
Seriously, and so it's been very interesting.
So tell me about some of the cannabis plays that you're in, or the stories that you're in now that are popular on your group. What's really hot?
You want to start?
Yeah, several, although some not so much in the right way.
Okay.
It's been an interesting time, as a lot of valuations hit record highs and then have just come down and down and down. I personally think, this is just a personal opinion, now is the time you should be looking into getting back into some of these plays, because the summer lows are getting very close. I was watching today, actually, several of them are hitting their 52-week low. So that doesn't necessarily mean it's a time to buy, but it's a good time to at least look into them. So a few that people really look into, I know American is a huge story a lot of people talking about, because that stock has also had its really high and come down for a low as well. And it's interesting because there's a lot of controversy. I've seen you on here with Ben before talking about the controversies there. It's a great company, and there's a lot of interesting things there, but this private placement that's about to close, I think August 9th was the date. It's interesting because that could be the turning of a page of a new chapter, because a lot of the things that plagued them are now in the past. They're now financed for the next phase. So a lot of people are like, okay, when's it going to move? When's it going to move? When's it going to move?
Right. So they're pretty well distributed around the world at this point.
Very much so. Out in Malta, out in Germany, their hemp's coming up. So a lot of our investors are actually talking about that stock because it's a great value that they see personally.
Sure.
But just they're curious, can they make the next step? So that's what people are looking for. They're looking for those ones that can still be that 2-bagger, 3-bagger more.
Right. Do you notice the similarities between the summer drift in the cannabis stocks that we call Muskoka fever, and that you see in mining stocks, and when there's a good mining market? If there's been a boom in mining stocks in the beginning of the year, we see the drift happen, the sell and May and go and wait kicks in. But in years where there's no money to be made, it's just like flatline right across the year.
It's double trouble. Like you could kill it in mining and then flip into cannabis. Right?
I think a lot of people are trying that too.
Full disclosure, American's a client of ours, so
very cool.
Don't want any liabilities.
Oh, so you guys also take on client contracts with issuers.
Well,
and in mining as well.
And obviously you full disclosure, you disclose it.
Exactly.
We've toured that facility. It's brilliant.
It's the American one.
Yes.
In
Langton.
We haven't been there yet, and we're going to.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because that phase one's getting closer and closer to being finished. I remember I went there because we also went to Matica out in Quebec, and it was 10,000 square feet, and it was a beautiful, beautiful place. And then you're able to go to that Langton facility though and go, oh my goodness. Like, I didn't know that cannabis facilities were made that big.
Really?
Yeah.
So that was
impressive.
interesting.
And you know, it's funny he brings up Matica. That was actually that was the company that I started talking about in the other Facebook group that we were in, and it had a lot of haters, and probably for some good reasons. But I saw opportunity because I thought, you know what, I believe at that time there's still a lot of hype in that space, which turned out to be true. And so I was an early speculator in cannabis as well. And then right after the November halts, if you guys will remember, I decided to, I reevaluated. I said, you know what, I'm going to pull my money from the big LPs and I want to get into a late stage applicant because, you know, those things were really taking off in the sector, right? Like huge gains. And so my partner and I, we found Matica because they had issued a news release that they were looking to get into a late stage, and the stock was trading around 2.5, 3 cents, right? But because they had some failures in the past, I mean, there's a lot of haters, a lot of people holding the bag, and that's when people were not being constructive with their arguments. So you know what? I said, you know what? Let's go down. Like I googled the address. I'm like, wow, they're downtown Toronto. This is where I live. Knock on the door. Walk in, I meet the CEO, and you know, got a feel for him. And I left after a couple meetings with him. I felt, you know what, they're very serious about, you know, picking up a late stage applicant. So I kept increasing my position, and then I actually got into a private placement with them and ended up doing very, very well.
What's the symbol on that one?
MMJ.
MMJ.
Can't beat that ticker.
That's a pretty good ticker, all right.
They're not a client of ours. That's just you know, and their stock has really just tanked with many others.
Waiting for the cultivation.
Look at that chart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's been some delays and they don't have their license yet, right? So we'll see what happens. I still own a ton of my warrants with them.
Oh, okay. So then if, you know, cannabis is doing its thing, I agree that I think there's going to be some screaming buys. There's going to be a whole bunch of value catalysts once everybody comes back from Muskoka.
Yeah.
But what about mining? Now we're looking at Sokoman Gold, and it's you know,
sick. SIC.
Sick. It is sick.
It's been a sick run the last little while.
Sometimes the symbol just so well matches the performance of the stock.
Yeah.
So, you know, like, and then NASDAQ magazine published a story apparently that said that Canadian cannabis and gold deals are back on.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that one.
Which I thought was interesting because it's like one screaming hole and the whole industry's back on. That's an interesting.
What was it? 44 grams of gold per ton or something like that.
Over 11 meters.
And that was a fantastic run. And then I was watching it earlier today. It had a run. I think it pulled back a little bit. I haven't seen the last
49
couple of hours.
now.
Yeah, so it pulled back a little bit, but man, that chart is just
it was on fire. And then you start seeing in our chat room, you start seeing the first mentions like, oh, this is sick. I think this is a pretty good drill results. I'm like, okay. And then another person comments, and then you see it on Twitter, and it just exploded. So it was very interesting.
I want to give a quick little shout out to all of our members because I did a Facebook Live Friday before the long weekend, and I told everyone, you know, go and enjoy your weekend, but take some time and do your due diligence, especially on these mining plays, because we're starting to see the volumes pick up. Yeah. And this morning, just before I came here, crazy the amount of due diligence that these people have done. I learned so much. Even there's one of my holdings is Canadian Cobalt, CCW. Canada Cobalt, I think. Anyway.
Canada Cobalt,
yeah. So we were watching that thing trade. And right on news, all of a sudden there was like blocks of shares coming from a CIBC seller. And someone was doing the due diligence over the weekend and found out that it was one of the directors that was selling. So then people were freaking out. And it's like, no, someone got in contact with that camp and it was like his wife was sick and that's why he was selling. So I mean, this is what our group is really about. You know, all of this
research.
Absolutely.
Research.
And I try to push people to get there and do it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, part of the reason why I was interested in having you guys on in the first place is I'm finding out that the community at large is able to, you know, bring a lot more information to the table than you can even get reading an analyst report. An analyst report gets a presentation from the company and has to go with that. You guys send people out to the field.
It is. Oh, absolutely. I would make an argument that some of these retailers do much better due diligence than institutions. I mean, when you bring bright people together that have good intentions, that want to work together, and there's trust involved, it is crazy. You know, we're in the information age, and you know that's what we're promoting, right?
Yeah, I was interested in if we just look at the Sable Resources chart. So these guys put out a hole this morning. There it is. Sable intersects 514 grams per ton silver equivalent over 12.4 meters, including 902 grams per ton equivalent over 4.1 meters. Now, I thought it was interesting because here we have another screamer hole. This is in Mexico, and yet the stock traded 124,000 shares and is up 4 cents.
Eric Sprott didn't go into the private.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty sure he did go into SIC for $3 million, wasn't it?
Well, interestingly enough, Tom Obradovich is the CEO of this. He has an office in this building, and he was in the last deal, Barkerville Gold, with Eric Sprott. He was the CEO of Barkerville during the cleanup. So I would have thought that this hole would sort of, you know, where's the confetti, where's the ticker tape parade for this
what's interesting about that exact point, though, is that you'll find like a Garibaldi is another one, GGI, and I don't know, we're doing this full disclosure, we both own stocks in that as well. But what's interesting is that you could have the best holes or the best results or the best cannabis company, but if people don't know you're the best, you're not the best.
Right.
Change it to the guard. The retailers are your biggest cheerleaders.
And they need to find that information. That's what I loved about Midas Letter, seeing all your interviews you're doing with the CEOs and the different articles. What we're doing with our group and our community, bringing people together. We want to show good stories. At the end of the day, one of the main things about our group is we are not allowed saying buy, sell, or hold. Yeah, we're not financial advisors. You cannot say that. There's legal reasons behind that. There's ethical reasons. Whatever.
And we moderate that. Like if people do that,
you'll get kicked out very easily.
Are you allowed to go and say I'm buying SIC today because the chart's on fire and I think it's got a lot more to go? There's another 12 holes at the lab, apparently. More results coming in 2 weeks. I mean, it's a perfect storm of an opportunity.
Due diligence.
Well, yeah.
Put due diligence with if you're going to pump up a stock or if you're going to bash a stock, whatever it be, because constructive criticism, that's still good.
Sure.
Have a reason behind it. There's a difference between saying, oh, the CEO's terrible, I hate him, blah, blah, to he's not performing, and you're actually being an adult about it. You're bringing some information to it. That's important.
We just don't like when people go and start a post and are like, hey, go buy American or go look at, basically go buy American, it's going to rock it. Like, I mean, there's just nothing behind
well,
that.
like Stockhouse, which is, you know, universally reviled as the domain of bashers and slashers and pumpers and dumpers, and you know, and the quality of the conversation is decidedly, I don't think even Stockhouse would argue with you. It's decidedly, you know, it's ridiculously biased. It's ridiculously, you know,
it is
contrived, and it's there's very little value there in terms of research.
It's so hard to find good information. It's like online dating. You're just swiping. You know what I mean? It's like you got to sift through all the crap, and we don't want that.
Do you guys are you guys following any other mining companies that you think have the potential, that are drilling, that might knock one out of the park here anytime soon here?
Go for it.
Yeah. Well, we actually, funny enough, 2 other clients of ours.
Okay.
We'll put it up. But it's interesting because the volume has not been there recently.
Yeah.
But it has been showing up in the last little while as they started getting through their earnings and actually having the property under their name and beginning drilling for one of them. PGE and MMG, Metallic Minerals and Group 10 Metals.
Wow, Metallic. I've been following that stock for years.
And one of them,
management.
Greg Johnson, is the CEO there. And we got to go for lunch with him once. And we speak quite regularly over email and things like that since. It was really interesting hearing his story because he told not just the story of his company, but he's told the story of the last 15 years of mining to go with it. Right. You know, talking about how we've been in a bear market since 2011, and then 2015, 16 is when you really started seeing, wait a second, people are talking about it again. People are coming out to PDAC again.
Right.
And this is starting to, you could see that we may be coming out of a recession almost, or a bear market in the mining sector.
Well, where we are in the mining in that cycle, it's very interesting.
Yeah, so, do you guys follow the metals at all? For example, we're looking at copper, which there's 3 major strikes in the world right now affecting more or less 5% of global primary supply, yet the copper price is still in the crapper.
It makes no sense.
And it makes no sense. And so do you subscribe to the theory that the commodities futures trading market is largely responsible for the price inefficiencies that seem to be plaguing the actual price of the metals?
For me personally, I wouldn't know enough about the futures market to be able to comment on that, not intelligently at least. But what I don't get is I've been reading for years. Like I took economics in school, and I've always been fascinated by it. And one thing that people kept talking about was copper. We're in a huge shortage, and I think it started this year, and it's going to peak in 2020 because there's no new mines coming up.
Right.
And when you have a shortage, the invisible hand is supposed to be moving that price upwards because you know that demand is still there.
Right.
But we're still building things. We're still using copper for batteries, for everything else.
Yeah.
Yet the price isn't moving with it. So I don't know enough to speak on the exact futures if that's what's causing it, but I do know enough to wonder why isn't it moving.
Right.
Very interesting. Yeah.
So it is something that I feel like you have an answer to that, though.
Well, you know, my circle of friends are universally of the opinion that the invisible hand, if you will, the natural market effect of balance in the supply and demand context has been completely corrupted by the futures trading market, where the quantity of copper traded in paper contracts far exceeds the amount of physical copper available to trade by a factor of 10 and sometimes 100.
Yeah.
And so
saturated?
Well, they're trading, for example, they're trading $100 billion worth of paper contracts in a market where there's only $10 billion worth of copper available.
Yeah.
So how can that constitute an actual forward price discovery mechanism?
Right.
It's actually a forward price determination mechanism.
Yeah.
And because they control both sides of the market, the largest trading houses, they're able to create paper wins for themselves in this teeter-totter.
Manipulation. Do you feel like that's
very interesting?
There's yeah. What about gold too? Do you feel like that's manipulation?
Well, I mean, in contrast to entities like BNN, for example, who will not let anybody on who's going to say that there's an inefficiency in gold pricing that's the result of a manipulation.
Right.
Despite the fact that we've seen multiple cases of attempted prosecutions and prosecutions in progress of gold price manipulation everywhere from the gold price fix group in London to, you know, to, I'm not going to say, well, there's been futures trading attempts to reveal the futures trading manipulation by insiders. So, you know, the evidence is almost conclusive, I would say, that this situation exists. However, we are sort of supposed to be of the sort of mindset that it's just the way it is.
And I hate that term. I hate that term, it's just the way that it is. Because if it's just the way that it is, usually it's retail investors getting the short end of the stick. Almost every time. Oh, it's just the way it is.
Right.
You just know you can't go against the institutions. Wrong.
Yeah,
wrong.
Right.
Retail investors actually have a lot of money in the stock market, and we're getting more educated. And what's really interesting, something that I started seeing myself and just talking to people, when that whole cannabis frenzy happened, the biggest rush was obviously last November. But it's happened for the last 3 years. But that last November, there were times at TD Bank that you were waiting anywhere from a week to 2 weeks to get your TFSA open. And if you ask them why, they specifically said there are too many people opening up TFSAs because they're all going into cannabis. They were telling clients this. So I see, and I'm just speaking to a lot of people, that a lot of the investors who are there right now who went into cannabis in January and February, et cetera, I don't think they've ever invested before. There's a huge market of people out there like, you know what, this is all skyrocketing, I want a piece of it. And they either had their huge gains or they're wondering, oh no, what did I do? Because they bought in January or February. But that's a huge amount of people who are now, okay, my money's in the game now I need to start researching. It's not that they weren't unintelligent people, they just didn't know before. It was scary to them.
A lot of hype there too. It's
a lot of hype
scary
as well.
when your neighbors are like, hey, I'm going to buy a cannabis stock. They don't know much about it.
Well, new investors are, you know, it's just a rite of passage that you begin investing emotionally, and you ultimately learn to invest with discipline and forward planning and research. And if you don't learn that, you're either extremely lucky or you're out of the game and you've blown yourself up.
And that's why it's so important, in my opinion, in Carl's opinion, and our group's opinion, to invest in a community. Doesn't necessarily have to be ours. I think ours is fantastic. There's a little bit of bias there. But be in a community where you can bounce ideas off of people. You can learn. You can educate yourself. That's I think is so important.
If you can trust the sources. I mean, don't
can trust them.
You can tell. Like I can tell the energy in our chat rooms, and you know, a lot of people just buy stuff because other people are talking about it, which is not. I'm not promoting that. You know.
So. Do you guys track your performance of companies that you're in and sort of display hey, we bought this, we deployed X capital at this time and now we're up this much?
You know what? It was an idea of mine. Didn't really pass the legal team. But we can double check that.
Okay.
I mean, that was something I wanted to do, was just to put it up there and track. I don't know why it didn't pass the legal team.
Okay, well, because I think that we should talk about that because there's a great opportunity there, both to run a contest and also to put some money into your guys' picks and see how you make out.
You know, it's interesting. We almost did have that contest. There were people who wanted to have it. Some of our traders who trade much more aggressively. Like we're talking 5 screens in front of them, stuck there from the moment it opens to the moment it closes.
Wow.
And we were going to have one of those, but there's a couple of things we didn't want too many people buying into it as well.
Yeah,
because then you're really promoting a buy and a sell, and we're not financial advisors, so it's a little bit finicky of an area.
It's cool. I get what you're talking about. I'd love to do that, though.
Yeah,
I really would.
Well, we will. Because I mean, there is nothing wrong with saying I'm buying this and I'm selling this, and here's why. And as long as you're not in any way saying you should buy this because it's going here, then you're in the clear.
And you know what?
You shouldn't do that because there is a lot behind it.
Well, and plus, you could be wrong.
For me, like,
that too.
I've always been just way more comfortable talking about what I own. They're not necessarily clients. Most of what I
that's
talk
how we
about
get around it. Is I just talk about what am I buying?
That's
what am
right.
I holding? What have I got?
Yeah.
What have the people on the show holding? What have they got? And that's why.
And it's a good way of doing that way.
We've had some big winners, like changed my life type of winners. So
really?
Matica's stock has crashed, obviously, but we were talking about it when it was 2.5, 3 cents. It went all the way up to I think 81 or 82 cents, right? In the hype of the last bull run in the cannabis space. But Garibaldi, a lot of our community was talking about it when it was in its 30s. I got in when at 64 cents and had a nice position. It went all the way up over $5. MTS, which is a property that's I don't want to go as far as saying area play. They have some gold stuff going on there as well. That's been a big winner for our community. CCW.
CLM at times. It's gone.
We should also give a shout out to Bull Market Run, which is a newsletter, a paid subscription-based one. I don't own it. I have no monetary, gain.
Bull Market Run.
Bull Market Run. Yeah. I don't get paid.
John over there does a very good job.
But very, very good due diligence.
Okay, we'll have to have him on the show too.
Yeah.
You should.
Absolutely.
And we love meeting people like that because again, it's just you're building a network, you're building a community. Whether it's you're building it to invest with because you're all bouncing ideas off each other, like we said numerous times, but also. As an investor, we want to build a community where we have multiple avenues of information so they can't go, oh, you told me to buy this. You told me this. No, we've given you so much. We've given you interviews, news releases, articles. We've got Midas Letter up there. You've got 420 Investor up there. You've got all these different areas where you can learn from. That's what we're pushing, learn.
Well, the thing I like about the great value proposition and the great sort of promise of the internet and the community it creates for me is that together, we can collectively analyze the entire universe of stocks in any given sector and collectively arrive at, well, these are the best quality stocks in this sector based on these various parameters. And then we all buy them and take them higher. We're mutually successful, driving each other's success, lowering the cost of capital for the companies. And that's what I hope to achieve with my video platform by having guests like you guys on and other quality guests in the community. So I'm excited about that.
Absolutely.
You can find the good companies.
Yeah, getting in the early raises, CPCs, there's so much opportunity out there.
You bet.
You know what? Everybody should check out the hashtag #AllSharesMatter. There's a movement that's
all
going on.
shares matter.
Have you heard about it, James?
It's actually very
all shares matter.
Interesting.
So on Twitter,
this has got documentary written all over it. You're gonna love it, James.
It's very interesting. We're trying to do our best to keep up with everything and watching it. Where I didn't mean to steal your thunder there. You're bringing it up there.
No, I don't even want to really talk too much about it. Maybe that's something we'll get onto with you in another program. But I'm just everybody out there should just.
All shares matter is that's coming up as CEO.ca.
Yeah,
well, they got some good SEO going on.
It's all over the it's all over the place.
Twitter.
Oh, okay. So we take that into Twitter. So people are starting to use the hashtag.
It's like a movement, man.
Okay.
It's retailers fighting back.
All shares matter.
And it's basically saying that our retail investor shares matter as well.
Right.
Because there's a huge David and Goliath with retail investors and institutions. And for everyone to think all institutions are bad, that's just false. I don't think you know enough about the market if you honestly think that. But it does point out that if, as a shareholder, you do have a little bit of a say in a company, especially when you go in groups. So very, very interesting. Lots to go on there. But we'll leave it at that for other people to search and research themselves. That's the whole point. Well, we'll put you down certain pathways. You go research and get the information for yourself.
There's an appropriate sentiment there.
There's a few there that you got to watch out. It's Twitter, just like other things. Some people take things a little bit farther than they should.
Yeah.
But
I haven't seen any compromised sexual positions yet, which is
this is good. Especially, it's probably a good thing this isn't necessarily a live one either, because then you can't block that out if that's the case.
Right.
Oh, Mr. Bean, great character.
Yeah, there's another great one. All right, guys. Well, you know, this has been an excellent seminal conversation, and I think we're going to have to do this again and again and again. So I want to thank you for joining me today. And
thank you. Love your show. Thanks for having us on.
I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much.
All right, guys. We'll see you again soon.
All right.
Take care.
How are you doing?
Hey, so what do you think about those guys, Brandon Call and Kirk?
They're on something.
Yeah, no, they're going to be Karl Boyd and Brandon Cowell are going to have their regular gig on our universe, streaming live to their site as well as our site. They're smart guys. They got 2,600 followers on Facebook.
Right.
So we're going to spend some time with them because, you know, I bet you we can learn from those boys.
You know what?
It's all about a bigger community.
It's about learning.
Right, Plato?
It's about learning.
That's right, Ed.
Like, tell me, how old are you anyway, really? Tell me the truth. How old?
Well, let's see, 2,600.
Wow. You don't look a day over 2,300.
2,300, that's a ripe old age. So people are asking us to talk more about Patriot One. What can we tell you about Patriot One? Well, we don't know anything.
Nice
All
action.
we know is that we were right. And that was that the action's heavy. Everybody on Facebook, we want to say hello to Oliver Frank, fellow newsletter writer, Hank Krasenberg from the Netherlands. Thank you, Hank.
Hey,
Great
Hank.
to see you
Nice
again.
to see you.
Joanne Clark, hello. We've seen you here a few times before. Welcome, welcome. Glad we can entertain you.
Yeah.
Advise, educate even potentially a little bit. Heidi Lang,
Did you
hello.
say
Peter Peterson,
advise
hello.
or advise?
Advise.
Advise. Okay.
Advise.
That's the kind of thing we do on this show. We
Educate.
Advise people.
Well, you educate.
And I educate.
What do I do? I just sit here and woohoo!
You're the cowboy.
That's right.
You be the cowboy.
I get to be the cowboy. Lovely, lovely. Let's go over to our wonderful and very much trusted indexes as soon as it opens up here, and we will pull up the. Oh, where did it go? Sokoman. Let's see how Sokoman closed at. Beat 31 cents, Ed.
Did it?
Oh wait, sorry, that's not today. Today closed at 37.5.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's down a penny from where I bought it, but
Yeah.
I'm going to double down tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm. If you just look at that chart for a minute and say we've had, a spectacular explosion to the upside.
Yeah.
With big volume. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Like today, we traded 21 million. That's half the stock.
Yeah.
And this is going on now for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
So there's lots of day traders in there.
Yeah, what's the? Can you tell me what date this thing launched here? Right here, they must have. What was that date?
That was July 24th was the day that took off.
Okay, so 24th. So we're in the. So we're talking about what? 2 weeks of trading. Looks that way. Yeah, 2 weeks of trading.
Yeah.
Well, I doubt very much that this is over. In fact, I'll bet you.
27 million shares the first day took off. 35 million shares the day after.
That's over the number of shares.
16 million on the Thursday. Now that's interesting.
Well, you want and it's a down
20
day.
million.
You want the red days to be a little less in volume, and that's what happened there. You saw big, little less.
21 million on Friday last week, and then today's the blow off.
Yeah.
Down to 37.5. But you think tomorrow it's going to pop again?
Well, I would have to say that everybody that's in there today lost money. Yeah. Everybody's down money, except if you bought it at 37, closed at 37.5. So you may be thinking.
So there were lots of day traders looking for a quick spin.
Look at everybody that bought the stock up until the end of the day is down. So
let's look at the 1 day.
This is called fear. This is
This is called fear.
There's your fear right
That's
there.
what fear looks like.
This is greed. This is what greed looks like. Greed leads to more greed. But we saw a little bit of a wick here, but they propelled right through it. But this is a big wick. You know, big wick. Yeah, it's going to be.
I know what it's like to have a big wick.
You know, if it could get down to 25 cents real fast.
Yeah.
I would say that would be a
wick?
Great point to get in. But you don't want him to drag it out over time. Just saying.
Okay, so this is the intraday trading. So it looks to me like that you had a bunch of people who bought in here like last week or looking for the exit, looking to take 20 grand off the table or call it 20%, and that's good enough. Drive on, buy it again. So now they're going to all wait for this bottom, and then they're going to come piling in here and take it through the new high. That's what I think is going to happen.
I tell you, you know what? Tomorrow morning, if you got a down day, I'd be surprised. I think if you could, you know, if this thing got to 29, 28 cents tomorrow, I'd say, you know, back up the truck. If you're looking to get into something because somebody's, you know, look at the volume. But it'd be nice to be able to get some fundamental answers from somebody that's familiar with a geo that's really familiar with this project.
Well,
I guess we should get the president on. What about that?
If you look,
we've already had him on.
Yeah, there you go. If you look on MidasLetter.com, oops, I didn't want to show that.
What do you mean you didn't want to show what?
Why, that was my trading account. Yeah, there you go. If you look on MidasLetter.com.
Trading account.
Yeah, I accidentally pulled that up.
What do you mean you didn't want to show what?
Why, that was my trading account. It's this vicious cycle. Yeah, so let's see. There's the CEO. Right now on the front page of Facebook, people, is the interview we did with the CEO of Sokoman Iron Corp, Tim Froud. Tim's going to talk about the project. You know, there's another 12 holes at the lab. That's what excites me, and I have it on good authority that we've heard that the 4 of them contain visible gold. Now,
is that what they refer to in the industry as VG?
VG, baby. VG, baby.
So that's not the island in the South Pacific, VG.
No, that's Fiji.
Fiji?
Fiji.
That's what I said.
Fiji.
Okay.
Anyways, let's see. Look at the conversation over in the chat room on our YouTube channel. This is on the front page of Midas Letter now. If you go to Midas Letter during live broadcast hours, you get us live and the chat room. This is what I like. So yeah, Ben Smith is in there. He's our lead writer, and he's also now a moderator of the forum. And so there's going to be lots of great stuff in there. Any news on the Stanley Brothers? The only one wants to know any news on the Stanley Brothers, the Charlotte's Web deal. Here's the news. Supposedly I'm getting $100,000 worth of this trade, but I haven't seen any subscriptions agreements, and my phone calls aren't getting returned. So I'm beginning to wonder. No, just kidding. It's early stage yet. There is a financing underway, and they are going to be going public soon. They will be here on this show, I assure you, and we will dispatch our camera crew to their grow op to have a look at what they're growing and how they grow it. Anyways, that's all in the future. We're going to be down in Monterey, Big Sur. We're going down there to see our correspondent Justin at the end of the month.
Right.
We're going to spend some time with him. Justin has a great story to tell. We'll be down there shooting our documentary. And what else? What else do we have this week? Let me pull.
I want to. I told you I invested some money in that electric motor. And I was just talking to my friend who's a big broker out west, and he said that there's some interesting things happening. And maybe we should have the CEO on the.
Yeah, no, he's got a standing invitation.
So maybe I'll work on setting that up at some point.
Okay.
In the near future, because I think that could get interesting.
Well, so this Thursday we're going to have Anton Matadine from Rise is going to be here. We're going to have Clint Sharples, the chairman of Heritage Cannabis Corp, that is in the midst of taking over a private company called CannaCure. We are going to have on Wednesday, that's tomorrow, we have Barry Fishman coming from what used to be Abcan, and which has now changed its name to Vivo Cannabis. Did you know that? Abcan changed its name. Anyways, Barry's always an interesting interview. He's going to be here tomorrow. And that is basically where that's at.
Well, that weekend went by quickly, didn't it?
That weekend did go by a little too quickly.
Now we're going into, we're getting ready for the big Labor Day weekend coming up.
I'm excited about that.
Another month from now.
Yeah, I know. Where are you going? I'm probably going to stay home for that one.
You know what I'm going to try and do?
You know what I might do? I might throw an alley party in my back alley and get a mariachi band to perform and barbecue. And I'm going to barbecue the food for everybody.
I got a funny feeling you're quite good with the culinary.
I know my way around the kitchen.
Culinary skill set.
In my family, in the kitchen is no place for a woman. Unless, of course, you only got. Well, that's going to get me in all kinds of trouble, isn't it?
Oh boy.
No. The men in my family have always prided themselves on their cooking abilities, and in fact, that's how we generally worm our way into our partners' hearts forever.
Yeah. Wow.
Can't speak exactly for my brother because he's a lousy cook. No offense, Reggie, if you're listening, but I think you know that's true. My father was a bit of a gourmand, though.
Right. I like that word. That's a good word.
Gourmand?
Yeah.
It's very self-explanatory. It just sounds like getting fat, doesn't it? Look at what is going on here with my... I want to go and I want to...
I think tomorrow's going to be a real wild day with this SIC.
Yeah, you think?
Hey, you know what? You interviewed Tom Obradovich, I guess. Has that been shown?
Tom Obradovich? No, that's going to be on... well, no, that was on the front end of this live broadcast.
Okay.
So if you want to catch any of these archived broadcasts, you can't get them on YouTube yet because we're building a special section for that. But you can go watch any of these archived live shows on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Midas Letter. Anyways, that is our show for today. Please don't forget to invite your friends to join us weekdays at 3 p.m. We'll be here now pretty much regularly. Ed's going to be here. I'm going to be here.
Yeah.
We've got Carl and Brandon from Follow the Money Investor Group are going to start doing their regular thing. We have an oil and gas analyst, Alan Bezenson, will be joining us on Friday.
I know. I've met Alan.
Yeah, you know Alan Bezenson. We're going to have, we've got all kinds of people coming on.
I think he's involved. He's got an interesting project to tell us about.
He does, actually. We're going to ask him about
Cash flow play.
Cash flow play. And Stephen Dunn is going to be here with a copper market update. Why are we focusing on metals, you want to know? Because metals is where it's going to be at when the bloom comes off the cannabis rose, which will occur at some point in 2020. So you want to be thinking about which of these plays you want to be buying that are the highest quality ones that are going to get the big torque lift when the commodities prices run. Again, 2020, because probably...
And a lot of infrastructure is not being built to meet the demand that's continually building.
Yeah.
And things like copper, zinc. So where's it going to come from?
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 On that note...
Goodbye, Ed.
Goodbye, James.